I was muted. Did you love that? Did you love that conversation I was having with myself by myself? Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. Let's try this again. I have just unmuted myself. Thank you, Zoom, for the humor there. Coming in later. This is why podcasting with a guest is so great because they keep you honest. Can they hear you? Because that's going to let you know whether or not your audience can hear you. I am streaming live to Facebook. It's Kat here. If that was working on Facebook, then you know that I was just like talking to myself for a while and you wondered, would this go on for 40 minutes? What was going to go on? What was going to happen there? This is a short mini-sode, so that's the good news. And the topic today on the Mom's Adventure Paradox podcast by Kat, your host, is yeah, but does it turn you on? And what I was just talking about is whether or not you are excited by something. Get out of the bedroom humor. We're moms here. We're not going there. There is a time for us to go there and a way for us to go there and have that conversation with ourselves and with others, with our children. But that's not where I'm going right now. Where I'm actually going is when you talk about it, does it light you up? When you do it, and again, take your head out of the gutter, guys. Come on. When you do it, does it make you happy? Does it really light up that part of you that might otherwise be neutral? And there may be days where it doesn't light you up. I was working with my horse the other day and he was being really, really difficult with me. He has a long history of challenges with his hind end and picking up his back feet. And he was really being difficult. And I've come to the place of recognizing, first of all, I think he probably has an old injury from coming off of the racetrack. And it's not really personal, but he's had a lot of years of people fighting with him and using ropes and all kinds of different things to get him to pick his feet up. He's also really big and he knows, if you can't get it up, you're not going to be able to. Okay, this is like I'm just totally walking into this bedroom humor, aren't I? Only the adults know what we're maybe no. I'm talking about my horse picking up his hind end right now, you guys. I'm talking about him picking up his hoof, okay? So anyways, I can't make him get it up. Just cracking myself right now. I can't, nor should I. He's a gelding. Okay, this is like not where I mean to go right now, but it's just happening. So I hope you're enjoying it. The point is, I love working with my horse. I love brushing him, spending time with him in the pasture, doing absolutely nothing, just being with him. I love riding him. I love exploring and going on trails. I love teaching people about horses with Jet. I love all of that. And in that moment when he was really being difficult, it was not turning me on. It was actually activating a part of me that did not feel pleasurable, did not feel good, did not feel exciting. It felt like, frustration, disappointment, annoyance, this like ongoing thing that has basically always been a part of him. And we've done lots of different training. We've been together about 15 years. And it comes up now and again, especially springtime. My horse people are like, yeah, yeah, totally, because horses haven't often gotten used as much through the winter and they've been standing around a little bit more and they might be a little stiffer or tighter and it might be actually that much harder to pick up their hind end. So I bring it up because when I ask myself, what is it that really turns me on and gets me excited and that I love to talk about? A huge piece for me comes from listening. This morning, I was listening to a really beautiful podcast about water and the healing effects of water. And this woman has discovered that if she puts her hand in water and then freezes it, the crystals actually show up in the shape of a hand. It's recognizable. And also, I'm going to put a bunch of these podcasts in here because I want you to be listening to other podcasts. It's not just me. If you're a podcast listener, I know you're probably listening to on average about 7 hours of podcasts a week. And I'm so grateful that you're here listening to this one. And I hope you enjoyed that really awkward humor that I just walked into this morning. But what's really turning you on? And I want to hear from you. Please email us, theadventureparadox@gmail.com. I want to know what excites you about podcasting. Why do you listen to podcasts? And if you're listening to this, but you generally don't listen to podcasts, Why don't you? I'm just curious because something that really turns me on is listening to podcasts and hearing people engage in deep conversations where they get to the place of healing because they are taking the listener into an enchanted story. That totally turns me on. That turns me on. That lights something up in my brain where I think about things differently. I've never heard that before. I've never thought about that before. And it activates me to take a different action, to try a third way, to consider that this person that I'm listening to, or these two people having a conversation, have done the work to see things differently, to do things differently. And that is proof of concept that it's possible for me to do the same. It's possible. Sometimes the gateway to the next version of yourself is going to come through humor, is going to come through a joke, is going to come through you letting go of something that you used to do to step into the next becoming. You might need a season on the bench, an injury, an illness, whatever it is. Maybe something's going on with your voice and you actually can't speak for a little while. I had a podcasting student who she had like this clip in her voice, and I was reviewing her podcast and giving her recommendations. And I was like, what's up with this clip? I'm just wondering, is it something with the microphone? I've actually noticed it on a couple of episodes. And she said, no, actually, I had throat cancer. And through the healing, I need to talk in order to keep my voice because if I don't talk enough, I lose it. And so when I'm doing a podcast, if I haven't been talking for a bit, it clips like that. So actually, talking is my medicine. It is what turns my voice on and activates it. Crazy, isn't it? Now back to the paradox, because if you're using your voice quote too much, you might get to the place where you lose it and your voice needs a rest and it needs a break. When I go through lots of sales calls on a big launch and I'm talking to lots and lots and lots of people, that happens to me where my voice is like, you've been talking for like 12 hours today. Could you just listen? So, listening could be what turns you on. I don't know. And what is it that you're listening to? Let us know because we are interviewing a lot of podcasters right now and we want to hear from our audience. What is the next level for you? What are you going for? What are you listening for? Because I am listening for what turns my guest on. As I'm preparing to speak to them, I'm looking at their books, I'm looking at their audience, I'm looking at their courses, and I'm thinking, what is it about this person? And whether or not they have a business, because I've interviewed folks who don't have any of that. Why did you come to this earth? What is it that lights you up? And again, it's going to be different for each of us, but like in that moment, in that conversation, in that interview, what is it? And there might be signs if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook and you're seeing me. I'm wearing a new hat that says Teton Pass, Wilson Backcountry. Total shout out. I should get them to sponsor this. My husband and I met on Teton Pass. I'm a backcountry skier. I love that stuff. These guys hooked me up with a new setup this year. I love this. This turns me on. This particular hat might not turn everybody on. By the way, it has a sparkle to it. I don't think you can see it. Oh, yeah, maybe you can. It doesn't look as cool on the camera, but it's just like a black ball cap, but it has this really cool sparkle on it. As he said, they're selling out so fast. Yeah, I'm going to put a link in here and see if we can do that. But anyway, what is it that turns you on when you're listening to a podcast and why? And what turns you on this month with humor? It might be bedroom humor, it might be bathroom humor, it might be elementary humor. The first joke I ever learned, and I've got here a book, which I'll show you. Awesome jokes that every 6-year old should know. It's this tiny little book here. I'm holding it up by Matt Wow. Waugh. Wow on the wow. Did I pronounce that correctly? Waff, laugh, waff. I don't know. Anyway, the first joke that I remember learning and thinking was funny because I was trying to understand what humor is around this age, probably 6, 7, 8. And I was reading through all these jokes and like a lot of them, I was like, I don't really get it, or I don't think it's funny. The first one I thought was funny was, why does a duck always look so worried? Because he always has a bill in front of his face. That was the first joke I understood and thought was funny. It turned me on. I got it. Like something in my brain understood that as funny. And I've remembered it ever since I was, what, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? That was my first joke. Years later, I got up at a bar and told a joke, the joke from Desperado, which I'm not going to tell here because a little bit of, I'd say that one's bathroom humor. I got a radio show because of getting up on a stage and telling that joke. So a podcast is like a stage. What is it that you're getting up and sharing? And what is it that you're not sharing? And why? Why? It has something to do with what turns you on, and it may have something to do with what turns you off. It may have to do with fear, where you're just feeling, I can't do it. What if someone judges me? What if someone sees me? What if someone hears me? The amount of fear around visibility, the amount of fear around something coming from something you say, guess what? That's going to happen if it's supposed to happen, whether or not you said something, most likely. Things will run their course. So you got to trust in the natural flow of things. Just like jokes, sometimes they don't land. Other people aren't going to think they're funny, and it might just be the wrong timing. I got up, I was part of a stand up comedy gig at one point with a group of friends, and I was the closer. And everybody had really great sets, and it was super funny. And then I got up and I did mine, and they just didn't land. And a friend of mine who was a professional comedian was like, Kat, I'm so sorry, but you ended up having the 99th minute. And we know that a good comedy show has to end before 98 minutes. That if you keep trying to get people in that humor and laughing past the 99th minute, it's just going to be tough. And it's true. Like I got up about 95 minutes to get going, and people were just sort of like, we've had a lot of this already now. It just it just didn't land very well. And that's okay. You learn from the experience and you move on. You know, the credit goes to the one in the arena, as Brene Brown said, who's being vulnerable, who's stepping into that, right? That's where the credit goes. So instead of judging other people and more importantly, judging yourself and turning yourself off, how about you step into what turns you on? If you're a podcast listener, is there a reason that you're not starting a podcast? Is there a reason that you're not guesting on other podcasts? Because clearly listening turns you on if you're here. And I'm so glad you're here. And thank you so much for listening. If you loved this, please subscribe, follow, send it to a friend. Reviews really help us. If you review us and send us a screenshot, we will send you a free gift. Theadventureparadox@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And if you are on spring break or maybe experiencing the dip at the end of spring break, just remember that there's always another thing, always another day, always another experience, always another spring break down the line that's going to turn you on. And sometimes you need a reset, the off button. You can't be on all the time, but understanding, and so choosing those trips and planning those adventures that do turn you on, that's the gift. And you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your children because they are watching you. This next generation, they're watching. I love you. Thank you so much for listening.